Hey everybody. I am sitting here doing a little Bible study, and I was reading through Matthew chapter 26, which is where Jesus and the disciples um, are practicing the Passover meal, and where Jesus has the first communion with his disciples. And it's also the passage where Judas betrays Jesus. In this point in the story, Matthew chapter 26, the disciples have gone and they've prepared the Passover meal at a certain place. And I'm going to pick up in verse 20, where it says, "When it was evening, Jesus took his place with the 12. And while they were eating, he said, 'Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me.' And they became greatly distressed and began to say to him one after another, 'Surely not I, Lord.' He answered, 'The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me.'" And Judas, at this point, just verses before this, has already gone to the chief priests and turned Jesus over to them and sold the location and the opportunity for Jesus to be betrayed. So he already knows within himself, and I don't know about you, but when I do something that's against the Spirit of God, I feel it, and I feel the guilt and the shame that goes along with that. When I am knowingly working against God, it hits me in my spirit, and I feel conviction. So I can't imagine what Judas is feeling right now, sitting at this table with Jesus as Jesus calls him out on it. It says, "The Son of Man goes as it is written of him." That means Jesus knows what he's supposed to do, and he's doing exactly what the plan that God has laid out for him is. And it says, "But woe to that one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed." That would be Judas. "It would have been better for that one not to have been born." Now, Judas, who betrayed him, said, "Surely not I, Rabbi." And Jesus said, "You have said so." Judas replies to Jesus with a bold-faced lie, staring him in the face, says, "It was not me." I don't know if I have that kind of confidence to stand up to God and to lie to God. But sometimes in my spiritual life, I can get so full of delusion that I'm doing the right thing, or delusion that my actions are justified, that I can stand up to God against God's will and say, I'm doing the right thing and what I have chosen is the better path. I don't know if any of y'all can relate with that, but the next few verses are when Jesus has the first communion, and he takes the bread and he breaks it and he says, "Take and eat, this is my body." And then he takes the cup and he says, "Drink, this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for the forgiveness of sins." Right after Judas has lied to him, Jesus pronounces the forgiveness of sins, that his blood will cover over sin. That's a powerful statement to me. He says, "I tell you, I will never drink again of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." And then they sing a hymn and they go out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, "You will all become deserters because of me this night, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go ahead of you to Galilee." And Peter says to him, "Though all become deserters because of you, I will never desert you." So Peter's like the opposite side of the coin of Judas. Judas is lying to God, lying to Jesus willfully, and Peter lives in this delusion that he's better than he is. I also fit in the story right there, because I know what it feels like to think that I'm better than I am, or that I'm going to behave differently than I actually will. I have a better idea about myself than what actually is. And that's a tough place to be when it turns out that Peter actually deserts Jesus as well. I mean, he's going to find out here pretty soon in the story that he is not everything that he thinks that he is. He's not the disciple that he believes himself to be. And And here's the thing about Jesus, and this is what I love about the gospel message, is Jesus knows that everybody is going to desert him. Jesus knows that Judas is going to betray him. But yet here he is at this moment proclaiming the forgiveness of sins and saying, after I'm raised up, I will go ahead of you to Galilee. He knows that everybody's going to betray him. He knows that everybody's going to desert him, but he also knows that God's mission is going to be fulfilled. He also knows that later on he's going to meet his disciples in Galilee, that they're going to eventually be filled up with the Spirit of God, and then they're going to go out and proclaim the good news of God's kingdom here and now. That's a fantastic portrayal of what Jesus is doing and what God has done in my life and what I hope that God is doing in your life. So what's the example I need to live up to? Obviously, it's Jesus, right? When it feels like that all my friends have betrayed me, when it feels like that I've been deserted, when it feels like that nothing is going right, because from an outside perspective, man, it looks like that everything is coming down around Jesus, that his whole mission is failing, that everything is falling apart because the chief priests are going to arrest him, beat him, crucify him, and he will die. But God's plan is bigger than that. God's plan is that Jesus will be raised from the dead, and there will be victorious life for all of those who are followers. When I feel like my life is coming down around me, when I feel like that my friends have deserted me, when I feel like that people have betrayed me, do I have the fortitude to do the thing that God wants me to do? Jesus prays in the garden and prays for the strength to carry on, and that's the example that I need to follow. I hope this short Bible study has been helpful for you, and it sure was helpful for me to have these thoughts as we go into Good Friday. So thank you for spending time with me today. Bye.